I want to welcome the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there. My name is Thaddeus, and this is the Regal Change YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about how people start to value you and what you have to offer when they realize that it can be taken away from them. And there actually is something to lose with you. So there's a saying, right, that God gives and God takes away. And I've thought a lot today about what exactly this means. And wow, the lighting just got a little bit brighter in here. Anyway, it just goes to show that God does give the light to the situation, and God gives an understanding to certain things, and he also is able to take away that understanding and take away that light if you do not have the work to actually pursue and to do what is required of you and that God is asking of you to be obedient to. And so ultimately, God will give and God will take. But what God gives us is almost always the some kind of talent or some kind of form or fashion of being able to bless other people's lives so that they may live a more prosperous life. And so a lot of the times nowadays, people take almost everything for granted. And I'm only now getting to the point to where I'm becoming a far more respected individual in my community. And the reason being is because this was not, even 6 months ago, this was not the way I was operating in the community, let alone 2 to 4 years ago. I was nowhere near the level of respect that I had in my community. And the reason being is because I actually carry myself differently. I actually have a work ethic now. I actually have competency. And I've learned how to build internal confidence. And I've also understood that because a lot of men and women out there have this kind of problem with the opposite gender where they view their value based off of how other people find them attractive. And so you're not getting that internal validation within that you are enough. You are lovable. You are amazing. You were made by God. When you actually realize these things, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's not to say that you'll never get nervous again, or you'll never feel butterflies in your stomach again, or you'll never feel heartbreak again. It's like, no. Confidence is being able to be willing to do those things in spite of the possibility of whatever's on the other side. And so you're just being who you are openly and honestly and directly. Especially as men, we have to do this. And so let them fear losing you. Let them fear it. And this has become apparent to me because this is one of the 48 laws of power actually in the book, is to build absence to create respect. And sometimes people just simply value what's scarce more than what's always available. And especially as a man, if you're someone that has their time to be exclusive to people that are wanting to build with you or nothing else, it's going to be a lot more easy to maintain relationships because you're actually around people that want to have and be on the level of competency, confidence, and striving for something more. The thing is, and here's the thing, I'm under no illusion. I am not going to be persuaded either that everybody today is going to be ready to just change their lives in an instant. Because I understand that it actually takes a lot, and you'd be surprised how much it actually takes. I mean, maybe you won't be. Maybe you're that person that's already there, but you'd be surprised how much it takes to get to the point to where you realize you actually do need a change. Like, how long are you going to continue to do these things until you change? How long are you going to continue to stay at your job, right? And I'm not saying, like, if you are working a 9 to 5 job, because I'm doing that right now, but I also have a business on the side. I've got other irons in the fire. We've got this school community that we just launched. And by the way, that is because we're capped out at 100 members, by the way. That is now a paid community. So if you want to join that community, it is now a paid community. More information is in the description box below. But anyway, like, there's certain things that are going on in my life that I'm actually building toward and that I'm actually trying to give value. I'm trying to give more value than I'm taking at this point in my life. Why? Because I know that the universe and God himself will give and he will take. If I give, that means eventually God is going to give back. Because I'm giving everything to God. Because I understand that when I die, I'm not, even though my body will be dead, my soul and my spirit will live forever on, and to, as Buzz Lightyear would say, to infinity and beyond. So I'm to a point in my life where I completely understand and I am completely at ease where if I die today, and I don't want to, but if I did, I know that I would have already made the impact that I at least could have never even dreamed of when I was younger. Already I've done that. Already I've done that. And the reason why that I know this is because I cannot tell you how many people have told me or emailed me or talked about this, where people have told me in consultations, like, you should really have more subscribers, you should really have more views, etc. And there is something fishy going on with the views, because, and I'm not really one for like looking at the views all the time or trying to see who has the highest subscriber count. That's not really what I'm about anyway, but there is something fishy going on within the algorithm, because on my end, on the back end of YouTube, it'll say like 2,000 to 3,000 views, but then on the front end, when I look at it at the video, it'll say no views. So I really don't even know how many views I'm getting on some of these videos out here, because the analytics on the back end show something completely different than what's on the front end. So I really don't know. I really don't know. And to be honest, I simply see the amount of comments and the likes continuing to go up anyway. So I do see those. So I'm going to continue doing that. But ultimately, my point here is that I'm speaking to a very specific group anyway. I'm speaking to the people that are actually ready to stop being average and start becoming a godlike savage. I'm speaking to those are the men I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the women that understand that self-improvement is actually going to be very beneficial for your life, and it's actually good to have a man. The women that understand this, the women that want this, the women that want to be led by a godly man that can lead them to a better life overall, and one woman that is actually willing to work. She's willing to go through it with you. She understands that this is not going to be an overnight thing. She understands that she has to bring things to the table. These are the kinds of people that I'm speaking to. These are the kinds of people, and to be fair, there's not a lot of that kind of people in the world anyway nowadays. So I'm not too worried about those kinds of subscriber counts or views or anything. If my message is getting to the people that need it, that's what matters. And I know that when I'm dead, these videos are going to be here. My words are going to be here. This is something that Jesus said as well, right? Jesus said, and I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, by the way, but I'm saying that spiritually speaking, Jesus said he may die, but his words will live on. It's the same thing with us. And Jesus even says at one point, ye are gods. We're not God, but we are godly, right? Have you ever look around the world, guys? Humans are peculiarly distinguished as a species than almost any other species around. Like, we're not quite human, like, as far as like an animal is concerned. We're not quite like we're not quite monkeys, okay? Maybe that's a better term, because we are human beings, but we're not quite monkeys, but we're not quite artificial intelligent level beings where we can just think super rationally and be on our toes 24/7 and all this stuff. This stuff that we're doing right now, this stuff that we're learning about right now in our lives, the novelty that's around us, human beings themselves are such strange creatures, and they're really distinguished apart from any other species. Why? Because this also, like, it's never made sense to me. I understand it, but I'm still trying to put into words and articulate what this really means, because in the Bible, it also says that man was made in the image of God. In the image of God. Now, remember, there's a difference between image and appearance, right? A lot of people want your appearance. How should I say this? They want your image as their lived appearance, but they're not willing to do the work to live in the image that you're creating. So this is why people get jealous. This is why people get envious. This is why this has happened to me recently with a few different women, where they just don't quite meet that standard of what I'm looking for, and they get pissed. Like, there was one point a while back where I was legitimately nervous that I would come outside of the gym to my tire slashed or something. But even recently, though, I've had a woman that she was almost there. Like, she was almost there, but just not quite. And it's so unfortunate, because it's like the ability to walk away is what keeps a woman sometimes, right? To all the men that are able to walk away, they understand this. And so the fear of actually losing you makes you more attractive if you have something of value to give her and what she wants. But here's the thing, right? Women don't necessarily love you. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. And the women, bear with me for a second. They're not really in love with you. They're in love with the way that you make them feel. Even in Ariana Grande's song, I remember hearing this, like, this was a long time ago, but it was her song with Mac Miller, and I think the song is literally called I Love the Way You Make Me Feel. That is the whole essence of the of the woman experience. They just love the way that you make them feel. And so men love differently than women do. And so as soon as, and I've seen this happen within seconds. I've literally seen a woman tell her fucking boyfriend or whoever it was either her boyfriend or her husband or whoever, because this was at the gym and they kissed. She said, I love you to him as he walked away. And then she started giving me the sex gaze. Seconds later. Seconds. And it was at that moment, this was a few months back, where I was just realizing the true depth of how cold the game can really be. Because this is a woman that literally said, I love you to this guy, kissed him goodbye as he walked away, and then turned to me and started giving me the sex look. If you don't know what the sex look is as a man, then you're not quite to that caliber yet. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be demeaning. I'm just saying that you're not quite there yet. Because if you know the difference between the sex look and just a normal look, you have to have social intelligence, number one, and you have to understand that, like, what women are really looking for. Okay. And so the game can be cold, but guess what? What I was able to give her just by my presence, and I wasn't even trying to talk to this woman, but she was trying to talk to me at one point as well. But like, this is something that happened. Okay. And so I talk about real life experiences, and I talk about things that have actually happened. And I talk about these things because I didn't know this stuff when I was growing up. Man, I was under the illusion for so long that women are these innocent creatures that they could do no wrong. And I was practically told that by my mother, and every man knows that you don't need to listen to certain females in your life, no matter how much you adore them, about how to handle certain relationships with females apart from themselves. Because they're not going to give you the best advice all the time. They're just not. Because they're going to tell you what you want to hear sometimes, because the truth would scare the living out of you, to be honest. And a lot of women are shamed for just being sexual creatures to begin with. And I'm not saying that they should be shamed for being sexual creatures. I'm saying that they do, I think, though, ought to be shamed if they're being disloyal, because that's a whole different thing. We're all sexual beings, right? We're all very sexual beings at our core. The sexual impulse is the second strongest impulse next to self-preservation. But that doesn't mean that because we're sexual beings, we just get to like cheat or be disloyal or tell our man that we love them and then literally seconds later start to flirt with another guy, giving him a seductive gaze. That's not okay. It's not acceptable. So what was I giving her of value in that moment? Well, by my presence and by the looks of what he was giving her, because you can tell, like, any guy that's aware of this stuff knows that you can tell whether or not a man and a woman that are together are they're experiencing a good relationship, let's say. I'll let you fill in the blanks there. But you'll know if they're experiencing something like that based off of their behavior and how they talk to each other, right? And so judging by the way that they were talking to each other, it didn't seem like they had a really good intimate level of experience. And so just me, by being who I am, just minding my own business, doing my thing, I was kind of aloof. I am kind of aloof out and about, not because I'm trying to be, but because I'm just kind of in the moment, and it's not like I'm intentionally trying to be aloof or anything, but I'm just very present. And I take it one moment at a time. And she found that attractive, and she found me sexually appealing based off of her gaze. So that was, I could tell what she was missing in her relationship. She was missing that little extra arousal, right? And so sometimes as a man, that's what you're able to give a woman. Like, I've had women in the past where they would want me for a long-term relationship. I wouldn't necessarily want them for a long-term relationship, and we didn't move anything forward. And then I've also had women that they want me just for fun and a fling, but I don't want them for just a fling. And vice versa for both of those things. So I've wanted women for just more of a fling in the very distant past. This was years and years ago. I'm very intentional now and have been for the last few years, but being intentional goes to show just how unintentional so many people are. So you've got to have street smarts out here, guys. You've got to be able to discern what's actually going on. And you've got to realize what you have to bring to the table and be willing to not bring it to the table. Even Donald Trump has said this in a book, right? And I actually haven't read this book, but I've heard the quote from it. He said, never make a business deal that you're not ready to walk away from, or something like that, right? And even though I'm neutral on Donald Trump, I still think that's pretty wise advice, to be honest. I think that's a pretty wise thing to do. This goes for any kind of relationship or business involvement that you're in. Don't go into it and not be willing to walk away. And people will have more respect for you. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.